Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
This is 2OF Entertainment. What could be more reprehensible than 2 old farts? 3 old farts featuring Dave and Steven and Greg Shapiro with funny ha-ha.
Oh, and here we is. We're live. Who knew? Hey, this is awesome.
I try to have a different background every time, Steven.
I see that. It's nice. I keep the same one no matter where I go. I just I transfer it with me. Continuity. So
yeah, right.
How you been? How you been? Good.
I've been funny, weird, funny, haha. Since we spoke last time, I have come and gone. I've gone to the United States and come back successfully. So
congratulations.
Yes, there was some doubt.
Yes.
Right.
There've been a lot of warnings. Countries have been saying that to their travelers, like the UK of all places, and Canada. Like if you go to the US, they may not let you in, or you may be arrested. And I'm like,
well,
seriously?
This is for non-US passport holders,
Right.
I actually I was traveling with my daughter, and she's mid-20s by now. Hasn't been to the US for a while to see our family back there. And it was my wife, who's Dutch, who said, maybe you better go before, I don't know, things get weird. I was thinking, like, how weird? I mean, fine, whatever. We'll go. How weird can it get? But while we were there, was the story of the Canadian woman who had a visa which had expired briefly at one point years ago, but that was enough to detain her like indefinitely at these for-profit, holding facilities and stuff. Then was what I'm trying to collect them. German national with a visa who also was like detained and because his visa, he had a drug possession maybe 10 years ago or something, which was like expunged. I don't know what's the word, but it showed up on the record. But the biggest was the French academic, I think, who was deported or turned back basically because he had negative comments about Musk on his and Trump on his social media or on his email. Yeah. So that happened while we were in the US, and and we only found out like once we got back to Europe. So
where it was safe. So now is your daughter US or is she Amsterdam? She's Netherlands, right? Because she was born there.
Both, right? So we've we've got our kids dual citizenship. I mean, like, and they have both passports. Well, then let's give them opportunities. That's what we thought back in the day. I also know people who are like, I don't want my US passport anymore. You can take it. And then someone in their family is on their deathbed and it's like, can I have a visa, please? And,
I know, right?
Yeah. Like, so
at
that's
some point, I'm assuming the US goes back to where it is. Unfortunately, the other day in the Financial Times, as well as Bloomberg and all over the news, Trump said that he wants to run for a third term and that he could do that. And he's serious and that it's no problem. And then,
it's not technically. Do you know the loophole?
Yeah, the loophole is Congress, like 2/3 of Congress has to say yes. But the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution, which is this little piece of paper that we live our
loopy writing.
It's like no big deal. Says no. It says 2 terms. The only reason FDR got 3 terms is because of the war. So unless we have a nuclear holocaust between now and 2028, the orange man should leave, and I will bet money, and I've said this, he will not. He's the new emperor, and the emperor's not going anywhere.
Well, wait, so the 22nd Amendment came in after FDR, right? Like as in a reaction to FDR?
I think they were like, it was sort of like, by the way, we're adding this that you can't.
He won 4 elections in a row. But so I think there's something in the wording of the amendment about not serving terms, but being elected for terms. So technically, I read what, like, Trump could get J.D. Vance elected, but Trump would be either the vice president, so they would do it like Putin and Medvedev did in 2008.
Yeah.
If they didn't even want to do that, they could say J.D. Vance plus someone as vice president run, with the understanding that, first of all, they would elect Trump to be the Speaker of the House.
Right.
And you don't have to be a member of Congress for that to happen.
Right.
And then, as soon as the president and vice, like J.D. Vance plus vice president would win, they would resign.
And then he would become president.
Speaker of the House, the president. And so, anyway, it's a loophole. It would still be technically legal. Apparently, the Constitution.
I know, but it's or 2/3 of the Congress could amend it.
And is that also true? Is it?
I think that's also true. I don't see that happening because
we're so in the weeds so early. It's funny, haha.
It's funny. It really is funny, haha. It's just like, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
But I read that and I'm like, so it's. I mean, this is who we elected. Hope you're all happy. Because you're about to go into, we're not out of the depression, and I said depression, not recession, of 2008 yet. And he's putting us now into another depression because everything is skyrocketing with his tariffs. I heard a lady yesterday on Bloomberg, and to her credit, she was the commerce secretary or assistant, and she was like, there's a lot of smart people and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I get that. However, the way we're approaching it, not smart. I mean, they're trying to go back to the 1930s, the way the tariffs used to be. And that didn't do well either. So I like the reciprocity idea of it, where it's, hey, if you're going to charge us 12% on X, we're going to charge you 12% on X. And I think, okay, we make that work. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But this stuff where it's like, oh, we're going to charge you 7,000%. And once again, the American people, that's right, stick it to China, stick it to France, stick it to this one. I'm like, do you understand that 7,000% is, you're paying that? They don't pay that. Do you understand how that works? And people are like, well, they'll balance the butt. Once again, do you understand how this works? And they don't. And I really think that somebody one day, and probably we've done it on this show with Michael Collins, who's a famous economist.
Oh yeah.
We literally explained how a tariff works. Like, how Greg brings his product here and we have to pay a tariff. So we pay more and we write a check to the government.
Right.
And then since I wrote a check to the government as a importer, go, hey, I'm passing that along. And people are like, no, that's not how it works. China writes the check. I'm like, I've been in finance for 100 years. And it doesn't work that way.
The example I was thinking of was like, if Trump had to make extra MAGA hats. I mean,
oh my God, they're made in China.
Made in America, folks.
Made in China.
So once he wants to import a bunch of hats, then
go up.
Then he's going to have to pay those tariffs to the U.S. government, and maybe that could bring down the old. I don't know. What about the basis, like the logic behind the tariffs, which is we want to bring more manufacturing back to the United States, and do American people want to work in manufacturing jobs anymore? That's something I saw.
They won't. For two. Well, one, we had this discussion on one of the other shows. So Honda said, you know what? You're right. We're going to bring manufacturing back. Yeah. Okay. They said, and which is true, in 2028, 2029, our plant will be open. Okay. So you're bringing it back, but
Honda they make a lot. I mean, cars or motorcycles?
They're bringing on the manufacturing from Mexico to here cars. So, cool. So they won't go on delay. They'll just go beep, beep. So I'm just trying to help out. But the problem is that it's going to take 3 to 4 years to build the factory. Right. So it's great that you're bringing it back.
Yeah.
However, nobody thinks past tomorrow. So because there's no long-term planning now, if I was a car manufacturer, I would have been like, listen, there's a good chance, this is when Biden's in the White House, that Orange Man's going to win. We know how he thinks.
Right.
Why don't we just preempt it and go, hey, let's start building a plant. And then when he wins, we go, look, we're building plants because of you. You're wonderful. You're great. Yeah. And then this way you have plants. Now, if he wins a third term, then they'll be here when he's here. But if not, in 28, 29, the new dictator will be, look what I've done. So that's a bad thing about the plants. So
Yeah.
I like it, but the other part of that is people don't work in plants anymore. Robots do. So it's great that we're bringing manufacturing back.
Yeah.
I just don't know what I'm going to do with the people.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what to
I
do
mean,
with them.
chips are the same way. A lot of chip
Right.
manufacturing, like bring that back onshore or
Right.
not, offshoring, reshoring, I guess they called it.
Reshoring, right. And
Yeah.
that's, once again, I don't know if they realize this, but it's all done with robots and people. There's not little, all right, now granted, Foxconn and Apple, the sweatshop with the little kids may be different. But
Yeah.
in real high-tech plants in Taiwan, which China's
Right.
going to invade probably next week,
Yeah.
there are robots
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
four people that wear white suits to stay clean and go, oh, it's working. And they walk around all day and go, no, it's working. It's working.
Right.
And that's it. So
Yeah.
it's not Detroit of the 1960s and 70s where it was like 200,000 people going to work every day. It's
Yeah.
Detroit of today, which is like, how many people are going to work? 8 of you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like we
I
can
don't know. I
carpool.
mean, I guess that's true. I guess I'm thinking of now the manufacturing and I listened to this podcast with Ezra Klein talking about his
Right.
new book, and he's talking about, I mean, why is it just so difficult to get things done in America? I think he talked about chips manufacturing at one point, and just, Biden Chips Act, great.
Right.
We can't be dependent on other countries. We can't have the delay in delivery and all this. Well, that's why so much inflation happened right after COVID, right?
Right.
Shortage of chips, and chips are in everything. But anyway, so I think the Ezra Klein book is the latest in a series, I think, of these books about like, why can't we get things done anymore?
Right.
But so many requirements about like, oh, are you going to have the proper amount of childcare and facilities and DEI, yes, and
Not anymore.
environmental studies and stuff, yeah. But I think the other thing, the example they talked about on the Jon Stewart podcast, where Ezra Klein was the guest. So they talked about broadband or internet for rural areas in America. And yeah, it's a longer thing and you can listen, but I think there were like 56 areas that were encouraged to apply for these grants to get internet for, the Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, where you have to, if you're a kid and you want to do homework, you have to find the nearest McDonald's parking lot. And so great. Out of these 56 areas, after like 3 or 4 years, only 3 are still in the running, because every single step has to have like a 6-month waiting period for review and consent, or and a 9-month chance for people to object, and from the federal level, state level, county level, city level. And anyway, it is another reason maybe.
It takes 17 years to put a stoplight up. No, the funny part about it is I was watching this thing on China, and they built a high-speed rail. They said it couldn't be done through the country, through their desert, through whatever. It took them like 2 years. And China
Good old
gets
human
done.
suffering.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with that. So, but I'm just saying, China gets stuff done.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's
They built the American railways too. Let's face it.
I was just going to say that's true. They know how to build. And can I tell you, we used to do deals in South America, and we came across them many times in Bolivia and Colombia when it came to railways as well. They would outbid our clients left and right, because you're just like, oh, by the way, the American people, blah, 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 8%, 9%, whatever. We're the Chinese. Our government is going to give you a loan at like 3 basis points. You can pay it off in 10,000 years. Wow. And people are like, ooh. And it was sort of like, I would say to our client, you can't compete with that. They're basically paying to be here for they think of 100 to 1,000 years ahead. We think of how much profit can I make in 2 to 5 years. They're thinking of how can we take over the world in 2100. So there's a big difference in the way we think.
I'm learning some Mandarin. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a little bit of Mandarin. So yeah. But my problem with all of this is, and a EU person said this, China's laughing right now at America because China now is talking to all our, for lack of a better term, allies, going, you can come with us.
Yep.
We're not going to do this to you. Now, Australia will tell you that's a little not true, but for
Yeah.
the most part,
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, we'll help you. And
Yeah.
so what's happening is this balance of power and shifting is going. So we'll see what happens in the next 3 years with the greenback. We're going to see what happens with our democracy.
Are we?
If we're going to be
You're the finance
isolationism.
guy. Are we deliberately devaluing the dollar to not make it the reserve currency anymore? Because that's a theory I've heard.
Well, Trump is, because he's got his crypto algorithms now. He's got a
Crypto.
crypto. He's got the stable coin, his US1, which is the tied to the dollar, which none of them really are. But so he's got that. He's got his meme. His wife's got a meme. The kids just invested in a called America block mining or whatever they're calling it. It's a brand new Bitcoin mining. So for him, he's pushing for crypto to be the new thing. And that's wonderful. And an analysis on Bloomberg, the guy said, it's a great way to buy somebody and not break a law. It's good. You could literally show up at Trump. You could show up to Trump or Musk in the White House and go, look what I did. I whatchamacalled it. I bought your coin. I bought $17 million of your coin. And he's like, yeah, okay then. So if they weren't saying people are doing it, it's not a bribery. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Right. So
I love how the Bitcoin in general, or crypto in general, like, Trump election, woo! Trump inaugurated.
They got the Trump bump. Well, all his stuff is going up. Well, New York Stock Exchange now has an exchange in Dallas.
Okay.
And the first stock they listed was Trump's company, Truth Social or Social, whatever it is. That was the first one they listed here. And I'm thinking, boy, when you want to talk about kissing up and sucking, you know what? You guys are doing a great job. So, and I'm just
like, queers out down in Dallas.
That's right. That's right.
Sounds like you're not trading in steers.
That's right. It's
sorry to be to use some old century terminology, but
officer and gentleman. So. That's officer and gentleman. Remember that? He goes, boy, there's only two things that come out of Dallas. That's steers and queers, and I don't see any horns on you.
Jacket. Right?
No, that was Officer and a Gentleman, Richard Gere and Louis Gossett Jr.
Yep.
Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. And Louis Gossett Jr. reminds me of one of my favorite movies called Diggstown.
Yes.
James Woods. Anyway, not my favorite human, but that was just it's the boxing match where the fix is in. And at one point he like straightens his tie, and and then you go down. Anyway, it's very, it just reminds me of so many things that are totally rigged. And in fact, today is the 1st of April, Stephen. So that is the big election happening in Wisconsin. And, hey, I timed it wrong. I was in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago. If I was there this week, I could be getting a check for $1 million.
Elon Musk, which they say is illegal.
Nothing
you can't do
crooked about that.
There you go. So basically, I don't know what his worth is now. It was 400. I think it's 200 billion because of Tesla's just dropping like a rock. So he's giving away money. And I think, and I could be wrong, I'm no legal expert, that's like buying votes. So, like if you're just going to give $1 million checks away to vote, I'll vote for however it can be bought. I mean, I have no problem. Most people are like, whatever. And so is that what we're going to do now as a nation? It's going to be like, listen, we're going to keep you all happy. We're just going to run the printing press. And instead of really get the budget under control, we're going to have whatever comes after $1 trillion. That'll be the next budget number. And everybody in America every year gets $1 million.
One new crypto coin worth $1 trillion and would pay off the national debt like that. That's
Trump's coins.
Certainly Don Jr. is like, it's going to work. It's totally going to work. Elon Musk showing up, maybe that would be the worst thing in a way. From what I could tell, situation on the ground, even like, because I was outside of Milwaukee area, and that gets into the deep red, like Waukesha County. So I was seeing yard signs for, red side, blue side, team blue, team red. But anywhere you go, anywhere we went, you mentioned Elon Musk, and it was like, boo. Not like burning Tesla dealerships, boo. But
that's too much boo.
But people have definitely heard about Teslas being burned. Like, what breaks through the you know, I was there. You know, I wasn't reading the news so actively. I had to return to Europe before I realized about people being disappeared to Venezuela.
Right.
And but while you're there, it's just like, oh, who's going to make it to the Final Four? It's March Madness, and
Right.
just trying to get from point A to point B, and how much does stuff cost? It's easy. I get it, how easy it is, and how hard it to be distracted, how hard it is to break through with like a message or whatever. But people have definitely heard about, you know, prices are not going down, and Musk and Teslas and stuff. So anyway, now he shows up. If here's the thing, I also heard this on Pod Save America, so I'm just giving a little sample platter of all these podcasts. But let's say Musk very publicly puts his money on this Republican candidate, Skimmel, which in Dutch means mold. And he's so he's a green candidate. Anyway, no, Skimmel is the Republican guy in this whatever state Supreme Court seat for. It's not a huge, you know, nationally relevant race, but
it is for Trump.
All eyes are watching, because if Musk and or Trump take a loss here, then all of a sudden Musk's threat to primary any Republican senator or Congress, whatever, you know, to put money into their opponent, maybe if Musk takes his best swing and misses, then maybe all of a sudden these Republican Congress people grow a spine. It could happen.
I doubt it. I'm thinking that if the economy gets worse, Trump keeps talking about a third term. People, whether they voted or didn't vote for him this time, or even voted for him this time, I think when the midterms come, they're going to be like, pardon my French, fuck this bullshit. And they're literally going to be like, we're going to vote for Republican. We can go back to the woke shit and the transvestites, and we don't care. We just don't want this guy in there anymore. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Republicans have learned a lesson. I think they learned that people stay out of their lives, make the economy better, get jobs, give healthcare, get whatever. And maybe if they've learned that lesson, and I know the two guys out of Pennsylvania, the governor and the senator, they know that. Now, whether they actually are going to run against Trump and Vance, I'm not sure. But if they do, not the worst thing in the world. I'm very excited if they do that. I think it'll be a good race. Unless Trump pulls some bullshit, but I think
that's what call national emergency and suspend the Constitution, and there's no election.
But there has to be a reason, and then the Republicans then would be, if they didn't fight him on that, and there has to be a real reason. Like we'd have to be at nuclear war, like nuclear bombs would have to be going off. I'm sure we can. But if that would happen, if just say nothing happens, and he goes, you know what, I just decide I want to be president. I'm going to call a national emergency and do this and do that, and none of the Republicans do anything, then they're complacent. And when he finally and his group lose their reign of power, the retribution will be like the Nuremberg trials, and it's not going to go well.
Nuremberg?
So Nuremberg, thank you. Nuremberg. That's what this is. Think about what that would be. They're all going to go, the emperor.
Right.
Well, when that emperor fell, and the people were like, oh, we have our freedom back. Nuremberg is a good place. Well, why don't we try you? They'll be tried as traitors.
I bet Germany would volunteer Nuremberg. Like
hold that again.
Locations we could use them for trials. I think it'd be great.
And like, we'll ask the questions. So it's kind of like, I don't know if they're thinking. Once again, everybody only thinks until noon. If you don't think 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years out, then sure, this is a great idea.
Okay, be like China. I get it, Stephen.
Well, I'm not saying be like China, but back in the 50s and 60s in America, people used to think past noon. They would think about what's a 5-year or 10-year or 20-year plan. Now everybody's thinking about like, so what do we do at noon? And I'm like, but if you're complacent in this, because you guys didn't do anything for January 6th, now you're complacent in this. What do you do? Like, what's going to happen to you when he's going to die at some point, right? He's an old, he's 82 or whatever.
Reference, if I can. Do you know Maria Ressa?
I've heard of her. We went for lunch, and the baby's not mine.
Did
No,
we?
never mind. Go ahead.
I might have even mentioned this last time. No, so
Right.
she was on a podcast. She won the Nobel Peace Prize. She's from the Philippines, and so
Okay.
she was talking about how they had Rodrigo Duterte.
Yes, I remember him.
Right. So he came up the same year as Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
But Duterte got himself bounced out of power. And
Yeah.
I mean, he was full on dictator, right? Like
Yep.
he was trying to be like Marcos. I
Yeah.
think he got bumped by the son of Marcos.
Marcos,
Right?
yep.
But apparently, according to this Maria Ressa, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, journalist, and jailed, by Duterte or whatever. But she said, like, well, he lost the support of the military. And here I am looking at Trump and like, oh, well, surely that would never happen.
Happen here in America. Well, here's what's really funny.
Signal, failure.
I would say the signal thing. You're
Yeah.
texting on Signal, which is not secure. I listened to a military analyst that says everybody that was on Signal has a military attaché person that has secure communications. They can text as much as they want.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't understand it. One of the guys is in Russia while he's doing it. And I'm thinking to myself, if you guys are just trying to, like, if you're just sympathizers and you want to be like Putin, why don't you just put it on an open chat? Let the whole world see it. And Yemen doesn't have internet, so they're not going to see it. You can bomb the shit out of them and go, look what we did. I mean, so it's kind of like, and that's my other thing. I can't believe, and I'm assuming, and I don't know, the Spooks or Us people are kind of like, this is going to be interesting. And I got to believe the military, real generals, not these, people that he's thrown into power, but people that like live and breathe by the Constitution are like, we have to defend the country, the president.
Well, and defend your service people, right? So, I mean, these giving away the coordinates on basically an open, like that was compromising the safety of the pilots, right?
Yeah. And the ground crew and this and that. But how do you, like, if I'm a service person or a military officer, how do I feel that I'm going to send these young kids into battle? Because I'm assuming if you're an officer, you've been into battle, right? You're just, at some point you got to go fight something, and now you're behind a desk.
Okay.
How do I feel about sending 18 to 30-year-olds in to go possibly die because it's, on a public board? And I'm like, dude, like, if I was in the military, I'd be like, I'm out. And I've talked to some military people.
Sure.
And like they are, like they can't even stay calm about it. Like I'm like, what do you think? A signal?
Yeah.
It goes 0 to 1,000,000 really quick, and I'm like, okay, we'll put you on the show, but
and how many guys
that's
get dumped for loyalty reasons? And what are they just going to sit at home quietly?
Yeah.
So
For us, it's not good for a country. It's also, and we've talked about this the last show, people in America are, not that they're stupid, but some of them are. Most of them are ostriches. They stick their head in the sand. Let's just say 10% of the 360 million people read a paper. I mean, really read a paper, not sit on TikTok or Instagram.
It's hard.
So they don't know. And nobody watches the news. And if you talk to people, they're like, oh, Trump's doing a great job. I'm like, where'd you get that from? Oh, from Instagram or I got it from Fox News. I'm like, no, really? Did you watch a real news station?
Or TikTok,
Reels. It's bad. And so I'm just shocked that, and listen, you're allowed to screw up, but when you start saying you're going to run for third term, I'm kind of like, okay, you got to, now we have to take a look at this. Like I've said before, I like the concept of his ideas. I like the cutting of government waste. I like these concepts. I love
Marie Kondo, only if it sparks joy do you put it back.
That's right. But if you don't do it properly, then you look like an idiot. Like, Trump and Musk are like, we've cut this billions of dollars out. So when financial people and government people and news people start researching it, Musk's family cut like 400 billion out of the budget. And they're like, it's 8 billion. Not 400, because they're not doing things. And so,
they're firing a lot of scientists, and apparently
they have to
guys are
rehire
hired by states now, or at least like states like California or states that can afford, and Europe. So we'll take them.
And we're bringing people back. We fired, like, I think the Veterans Affairs, all of them, they had to bring them all back. They fired the nuclear regulatory. So you fired, and then you bring them back, right? Yeah. So my whole point is if you spent, instead of trying to show how big your penis isn't in 90 days, and took, say, 6 months and said, okay, let's go through the budget. We don't need this. We don't need, like, things you really don't need, right? And how can we downstaff? Great. That's one. Next, and did it properly. in 6 months to a year, you probably would really save $1 trillion.
I mean, cutting a lot of red tape. I mean, great. I heard the podcast with Ezra Klein. Let's do it.
But, I'm all for it, but do it properly, not with these guys that just because somebody got lucky and has $400 billion doesn't mean he's the smartest guy on the planet.
Who else was there's a new guy, Greg Kasar? He's the head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And I think he translated it to $8 million a day that Musk is basically giving himself, because he's cutting a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, but also a lot of contracts seem to be going to Musk-owned companies, from Tesla to Starlink to SpaceX. And so he's there's some total of how many billions of dollars he's now awarded
himself.
So again, a good investment. What did he spend? 200 something million to buy
to get Trump in. I heard there's a senator in front that was talking to one of Trump's appointees, and he said Musk's companies, Musk, if you will, make $8 million. They make $8 million a day from the United States government, and that was a month ago. So I don't know what it's going to now. But but Starlink's not doing well because everybody in Europe's canceling it now. They're like, all the countries are like, we don't need this. No, we're good. We're good.
Well, so maybe Starlink will help the rural areas get internet after all. And I don't know that as long as you don't have to do your homework in a McDonald's parking lot, that would be good.
Now it's Chipotle, and that's okay. So,
Chipotle?
I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
You see, this is why we can't have nice things.
That's right.
You know what? We started off talking about the U.S. passports, and I'm going to give up my passport. I made a note because there was a funny story about a British citizen I heard of who was and this was after the Iraq invasion 2003, and Tony Blair was like, "Oh, we can't believe our government would do this." So some British citizen was like, "Send my passport back to the nearest consulate or embassy and please take my British passport. I don't want it anymore. And I hereby give up my citizenship." So a couple weeks later, he just got an envelope with his passport and a note that said, "We believe you must have misplaced this."
I love it. That's great.
Resignation not accepted.
Nice.
Very diplomatic, very British. France as well, by the way. Marine Le Pen, the Trump of France, looks like she's going to the clink.
5 years.
Le clink.
Yes, Le clink.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's another way of doing things, I guess. Of course, it's a total witch hunt. But, I mean, it seems like it wasn't an accident that she misplaced all this government money.
I know.
But anyway, so they did, what else? I'm trying to see if I can transition to any of this green stuff I brought. I purposed some news about climate, which is climate good news for climate skeptics. That's my new angle. You can be a climate skeptic, but and some of these articles are really there's been a whole study about whale pee, and so again, if we're talking about government waste, whale pee transports thousands of tons of vital nutrients around the world's oceans, according to a study.
I want to know who got paid to do that study.
Yeah. Whale pee.
Whale pee. Interesting.
Of course it does, I suppose, because whales pee. They didn't even study the poop. Apparently, that's a whole.
That's a whole nother thing that it transfers. I guess Captain Abraham was like, "Listen, I've been hanging out with Moby for a while. I know what the whale pee does."
And so fine. I guess no one's ever really thought of these majestic creatures as pissing all over the
ocean. You don't really think of a fish defecating, right? So, but I'm sure they do.
And we're swimming in that. It's disgusting. But so whatever way. So that should appeal to some climate skeptics. What else? There's another one about a nuclear waste powered battery. Let's see. Am I getting this right? It is that. God, no, not that one. It is. No, that's just good news. Damn it! This is a world first from Interesting Engineering.
Okay.
World's first nuclear waste-powered battery unveiled in Japan. It's using spent uranium as an active material.
Wow. Okay.
I'm like, what could possibly go wrong? We have so many things you could
Those
use
two
for
cars.
battery.
Can you imagine those two cars? Two cars hit each other. Hey, what happened down on Highway 17? Oh, you can tell by
Yeah,
the mushroom cloud. Don't worry about
right.
it. It's good. It's good.
I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
know if
build a road.
you wouldn't need a whole mushroom cloud, but and it's Japan of all the countries that.
Right.
I mean, I'm not even talking back to World War II, just like Fukushima.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? Nuclear waste powered
Cars.
battery.
Nice.
Uranium. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need more screenplays for Godzilla movies, but
This is one.
it's a whole new
And
crop.
your flashlight will never die. You, on the other hand, will glow in the dark and die immediately.
There
But
you
your
go.
flashlight's going to
Yes,
go
you will
forever.
be a source of light
There you
for
go. Forever and
generations.
ever. Yeah. That's
So I mean,
crazy.
this is specifically for the climate skeptics. So
Of
good.
course.
Another one was there's a Dutch startup, and like two
Okay.
Dutch startups. There's one called Skytree, and there's one
Okay.
called Return Carbon. So you can guess what field these guys are in. It's
Right.
not carbon capture, I think, but it's, what do they call it? Direct air capture of carbon.
Ah,
So that's the
okay.
DAC. This is basically a giant vacuum cleaner for the sky.
That's right. We talked about that like 6
Yeah,
months ago. You talked about the vacuum
yeah.
cleaner in
There
the
are
sky.
different
Yeah.
startups doing this. Dutch ones have been hired by Texas to go into Texas, and they're trying to remove like 500,000 tons of CO2 out of the Texas atmosphere per year.
Wow. That's because Elon speaks. Yeah.
But it's basically like humidifier, dehumidifier.
That's funny.
We're not going to stop
Right.
producing fossil fuels, but we're going to, it's
Yeah.
like drinking Diet Coke, still good.
But you know what's really great about this?
Yeah.
When somebody watches this
Double the
video
Diet Coke. Yeah.
100 years from now,
Oh,
they're gonna be
yeah.
like, these guys were so funny. They're dead now, but they were so funny.
Right.
Because
But they're
it's all
still glowing.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And we're still glowing now that you can see the earth from all over. So- and we're still using fossil fuels because that's technically never running out, because I don't believe it really came from dinosaurs. I have a
Oh, yeah.
problem with that. And nobody can explain to me how dinosaurs do. Because if that's the case, I can pile up a whole bunch of people. I should be able to get oil. It's the same hypothesis.
I don't like where this is going at all.
But I'm just saying, I'm not going back to the 30s. I'm just making a statement. It's like, I think, and I read something on this, whether it's true or not, there's just basically a river of oil that runs through the earth.
Okay.
And so somebody said that they came up with this dinosaur hypothesis when it
Ah.
started, to make it feel that it's like, ooh, dinosaur hypothesis. There's only so much. So
Yeah.
they can keep raising prices. We're going to run out one day. We've been running out since the oil crisis in 72.
1973 to
Yeah, 72. When I was a kid, I remember you go
Right.
online. Oil was 10 cents, 25 cents a gallon. It jumped to 75 cents. People were having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Here in Texas, it's like $3 a gallon. When I go to the West Coast, it's $6 a gallon. When I go to Europe, it's like, do you want my kidney? So it's crazy. So
it is.
a
It's
different
what
world.
is okay, so this is fun. A liter of benzene, or so a liter of gasoline over here is
Right.
€2, I think. But
Okay.
a liter is like a quarter. Is like a quart. So
Right.
that's 8, and that's just a good day.
Yeah. That's California, Washington. When I'm in California or Washington State, and we rent a car and we have to fill up, I'm like, you know what? It's cheaper to Uber.
Yeah.
I don't need a car at my disposal. I'll Uber and I'll pay that money, and I'll still come out $200 or $300 ahead, because I'm like, that's crazy.
I guess so.
It's gonna get worse. So I mean, I hate to be the gloomy guy, but it's true.
Yeah. But the oil will never run out, as you said. So I guess that's okay. Well, good. It seems like
good for
what you said, the magic flowing river of oil. It reminds me of Willy
I
Wonka.
read some guy that was like a world famous geologist, and he was talking about oil, and he's, because I'm a kid, I'm like, I don't get the dinosaur concept. And all of a sudden I read this thing, and it was sort of like, oil is just something that flows, whatever. Now, I'm sure some
Yeah.
geologists can come on and correct me, but I
Okay.
understand how dinosaurs get compressed and you
Yeah.
make oil,
Yeah.
especially this much oil. How
Right.
many dinosaurs roamed the earth? Was basically there was a dinosaur every foot next to each other for this much oil to come.
A
So
lot.
there,
It piles up a lot.
so this guy was saying there has to be a river of oil underneath that technically never runs out when
Huh.
the earth must produce it, because if that was the case, we should have run out like
Oh,
in
yeah.
1963.
Right.
And I thought that was
Well,
interesting.
sort of like food. They keep saying we're gonna run out of food.
We keep going.
Well, so far, I mean, so far, so good. But yeah, the technological advances,
There you go.
that's is pretty good. Anyway, I can get into that next time.
Yes, because you have to go.
I
So
have to
everybody,
go.
Greg
Yeah,
has to go. But
yeah.
thank you for doing this. We will see Greg in May and not on April Fool's. By everything we said, April Fool's. No, just kidding. It wasn't.
April Fools.
Anyway, Greg, it was a pleasure to see you as always. Anything you want to plug before we run away?
Yeah, I'm performing around the Netherlands, but then working up to the let's see, the Amsterdam Boom Chicago Comedy Festival coming up
Okay.
in June, and
Okay.
that's gonna have a bunch of famous alumni here. Seth Meyers with his brother Josh Meyers, and Brendan Hunt, as well as some Dutch celebs as well. So it's yeah, it's all working toward more. Live
stuff.
performing, whether it's stand-up comedy or improv.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that more next month. Greg, thank you once again, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you next month on Funny Haha with Greg Shapiro. See you, Greg.
Woo-hoo!
Cheers.
Thanks, David.
Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Thanks, David.